The American century, the 20th, is over. The American century, the 21st, is a different story, and it is written in the sky of the Republic.
And the quantum reading of the American story. The Republic is the superposition of the frontier and the covenant, and the century is the long decoherence of that superposition into a single, lived choice. The 2040s are the critical measurement. The elections, the courts, the crises of the 2030s will select the branch. The 2060s and the 2070s will live with the selection. And the 2100 Saturn return and the Aries conjunction will face the selection with the next century. The American experiment is a measurement of the collective, and the century is the instrument.
And Latin America, the third arena, whose astrology I read through the great cities and the great liberators. The charts of the Latin American republics, born in the 1810s and 1820s, face their bicentennial Saturn cycles in the 2030s and 2040s, and the region's Pluto returns in the 2050s and 2060s. My delineation. Latin America in the 2030s and 2040s is the arena of the great refounding, the renegotiation of the republics, the revaluation of the earth, the reawakening of the indigenous civilizations whose astrology predates the European. The 2050s and 2060s, with Pluto in Pisces and the fire conjunctions, are the decades of the Latin American fire, the region of the Earth's great resources, the region of the Earth's great dreams, meeting the century's settlement on its own terms.
And the ancient school honors the astrology of the Americas that came before, the Maya, the Aztec, the Inca, the calendars of the sun and the corn. The Mayan long count, which the world misunderstood as an apocalypse in 2012, is a calendar of the great cycles, and its next great station falls in the 2040s, the decade of the settlement. The Andean reading of the sky, the sec lines of Cusco, align the sacred geography with the stars, and the sacred geography of the Andes, with its water and its mountains, is the ground of the region's century. The astrology of Latin America is not a European import. It is the oldest sky of the Americas, and it is awake.
And Europe, the fourth arena, whose collective chart we read in Part 3. The European Union faces its Saturn return of 2046 in the decade of the settlement, and the continent faces the Neptune transits of the 2040s and 2050s, the oceanic dreams and the oceanic borders. My delineation. Europe in the 2030s and 2040s is the arena of the great form question: federation, confederation, or network, and the answer will be written by the 2046 return. The 2050s and 2060s, with the audits and the fire, are the decades of the European transformation, the aging continent, the migrant continent, the continent of the great museums and the great questions. And the 2080s, with the sovereignty conjunction in Leo, are the decade when Europe must answer the question of the center, again, in the language of the century.
And the quantum reading of Europe. Europe is the superposition of many nations and one dream, and the superposition has been coherent for 70 years. The 2046 Saturn return is the measurement that will test the coherence. The European field will either hold as one wave function or decohere into many. The outcome depends on the measurements of the 2030s and 2040s, the crises, the elections, the stories. And the 2080s, with Neptune in Leo, will dream the center again. Europe is the laboratory of the collective wave function, and the century is the experiment.
And Africa, the fifth arena, the youngest continent, the continent of the century's demography. The African republics, born in the 1950s and 1960s, face their Saturn returns and their Pluto returns in the 2030s, 2040s, and 2050s, and the region's Uranus cycles in the 2060s and 2070s. My delineation. Africa in the 2030s and 2040s is the arena of the great youth. The demographic wave that the world has been predicting for 50 years arrives, and the continent becomes the arena of the new labor, the new cities, the new ideas. The 2050s and 2060s, with the audits and the fire, are the decades of the African reckoning with the earth, the resources, the climate, the revaluation of the continent's wealth. And the 2080s and 2090s, with the consolidation and the inheritance, are the decades when the African century, the century of the youngest continent, is either realized or betrayed. The choice, as always, is human.
And the ancient school honors the astrology of Africa that the world forgot, The Dogon astronomers of Mali, who mapped the star Sirius and its companion, the invisible star, centuries before the telescope. The Egyptian decans, the origin of our zodiac's hours. The Ethiopian zodiac, the Kebra-Nagast sky. The African sky is not a new sky. It is the oldest sky, and its knowledge is returning to the continent's young astrologers in the 2020s and 2030s, the very decades of the network and the mutation. The reawakening of the African astrological tradition is one of the quiet events of the century, and it will change the world's reading of the sky.
And West Asia, the sixth arena, the cradle of the zodiac itself, the land of Babylon and the Omen tablets. The region faces the 2027 eclipse directly, and its charts, from the modern states born in the 20th century, face their Saturn cycles in the 2030s and 2040s. My delineation: West Asia in the late 2020s and the 2030s is the arena of the eclipse's first fruits. The renegotiation of the region's order, the politics of water and faith, the great cities of the Gulf facing the great transition from the oil economy. The 2040s, with Pluto in Pisces and the settlement, are the decade of the region's refounding, and the 2060s and 2070s, with the fire and the reordering, are the decades of the region's new story. The land of the first astrologers will be read by the last astrologer's descendants, and the reading will be rigorous.
And the quantum reading of West Asia. The region is the oldest measurement apparatus in the astrological tradition, the place where the sky was first read as a text. And the region's century is the return of the text. The 2027 eclipse reopens the book, and the Saros lineage keeps it open through 2046, 2065, and 2084. The region that wrote the first forecast will be read by the century's most careful readers, and the reading will be entangled with the reading of the whole world, because the region is the node of the world's oldest and newest lines.
In South Asia, the seventh arena, the continent of the Dashas, the land of the Vedic sky. India's republic, born in 1950, faces its Saturn return of 2038 in the decade before the settlement, and its demographic wave crests in the 2030s and 2040s. My delineation: South Asia in the 2030s and 2040s is the arena of the Great Ascent. The youngest major population, the largest democracy, the fastest growing economy of the mid-century, meeting the settlement decade of the world. The 2050s and 2060s, with the audits and the fire, are the decades of the South Asian reckoning with its own success. The cities, the water, the inequality, the dream. And the 2080s, with India's Pluto return and the consolidation, are the decade of the South Asian maturity. The Republic of a Billion Souls faces its founding dream and its founding shadow. The Dasha of the nation, which the Vedic astrologers have read since 1947, continues to tick.
And the Vedic sky is the most complete astrological system the world has produced. The dashas, the divisional charts, the nakshatras, the 27 lunar mansions that the West forgot and India kept. The nakshatra of the 2027 eclipse, the mansion in which the sun and moon are devoured, is the key to the century's opening. The nakshatra of the star, the initiation, the fire. And the nakshatras of the great conjunctions of 2040, 2060, 2080, and 2100 are the keys to the century's chapters. The Vedic method does not predict less, it predicts more, with a finer clock. And the finest clock of the century is the nakshatra clock.
And East Asia, the eighth arena, the land of the dragon, the tiger, and the phoenix, whose astrology is the Chinese sky, the oldest continuous astronomical tradition on Earth. China's republic, born in 1949, faces its Pluto return in the 2040s, and the region's great charts face their Saturn cycles through the century. My delineation: East Asia in the 2030s and 2040s is the arena of the Great Return. China's Pluto return, Japan's Saturn cycles, Korea's Uranus transits, the renegotiation of the region's order in the decade of the settlement. The 2050s and 2060s, with the audits and the fire, are the decades of the East Asian transformation, the aging societies, the new technologies, the redefinition of the region's role in the world. And the 2080s, with the sovereignty conjunction, are the decade of the East Asian consolidation, the mature shape of the region's power, and its answer to the world's question of the center.
And the Chinese sky is the quantum sky before quantum. The I Ching, the Book of Changes, is a binary system of 64 states.